Today we're talking about Tezzeret the Seeker and Oathbreaker. We're going to explore what signature spell might be best for him. And stay to the end if you want to hear about my very unique personal build for Tezzeret. So, Tezzeret costs 5 mana and starts at 4 loyalty. +1, untap up to 2 target artifacts. -X, search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less and put it onto the battlefield. -5, artifacts you control become artifact creatures with base power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn. Wow, this guy is a powerhouse. Being able to ramp with his plus ability is very strong, and tutoring out artifacts from your library straight onto the battlefield the turn Tezzeret comes out. Before we talk about signature spell choices, I want to point out how good this guy is with Basalt Monolith and Grim Monolith. He's really good with any mana rocks really, especially ones that produce more than 1 mana, but these two you have to pay mana to untap them. And Tezzeret's plus ability gets around that, but it gets even better, because Tezzeret can tutor these out with his -X. But it gets even better still, because Tezzeret can also tutor out Rings of Bright Hearth, which will make you infinite mana when you copy the untap ability, or Forsaken Monument for infinite mana, or Mesmeric Orb to mill yourself out, or Crackdown Construct, which can get infinitely big, and really just a whole bunch more combos with this card. You'll have to look it up, but the list is crazy long. If that's the route you're going, a signature spell that searches up the other piece you need is a good choice. Merchant Scroll searches up a blue instant card and puts it into your hand. Solve the Equation searches for an instant or sorcery, and Fabricate searches for an artifact. Transmute Artifact, Reshape, and Whir of Invention all search for artifacts and put them into play. And yeah, Tezzeret already does that, but if you want a specific combination of 2 artifacts like we talked about, then doubling down on that would be well worth it to get it done as fast as possible. I want to circle back around to Mesmeric Orb, and remember, it combos with the Manolith to mill out your entire library. An interesting signature spell choice for that strategy is Hour of Eternity. For XX blue. Exile X target creature cards from your graveyard. For each card exiled this way, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. So, once we've milled our entire deck, we can reanimate Thassa's Oracle or Laboratory Maniac to win the game. Another interesting little combo is Stifle as your signature spell, 1 mana, counter target activated or triggered ability, and Phyrexian Dreadnought, a 1 mana 12/12 with trample. When it comes into play, sacrifice any number of creatures with total power 12 or more, or bury Phyrexian Dreadnought. You -1 Tezzeret to put this guy straight from your library onto the battlefield, then you stifle the Enter the Battlefield trigger and you just get a free 12/12 with trample. There's a number of other creatures that you could stifle their Enter the Battlefield triggers as kind of a backup plan, but this one is the best. Also, you can stifle Planeswalker's activated abilities, so that's pretty sweet too. Or your game plan could be lots of 0 mana artifacts and abusing Enter the Battlefield triggers off them. Retract and Hurkyl's Recall bounce all your artifacts back to hand to cast them again for free to retrigger all your stuff. Paradoxal Outcome costs more mana but returns any number of target non-land, non-token permanents you control to their owner's hand. Draw a card for each card returned this way. I think the card draw on this makes this better than the other 2 options, honestly. Displacement Wave and Consuming Tide both bounce your opponent's stuff along with yours. I really like how this 0 mana artifact strategy ties into his -5 of artifacts you control become creatures with base power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn. I don't know if that's your plan A or your plan B in a deck like this, but it is worth mentioning. If you're drawn to that -5, then Rise and Shine as a signature spell might be right up your alley. For 2 mana, target non-creature artifact you control becomes a 0/0 artifact creature. Put 4 +1/+1 counters on each artifact that became a creature this way. And it overloads for 6 to make each of your non-creature artifacts into creatures this way. If you'd just rather have card draw, Thoughtcast is the way to go. 5 mana with affinity for artifacts, draw 2 cards. Tezzeret's Gambit and Tezzeret's Ambition draw cards and are just thematic too if you're into that kind of thing. And as for my personal build, I try to build decks that I have never built before, so they're not always great, but they are unique. The game plan was to minus Tezzeret to go get Thrumming Stone. Spells you cast have Ripple 4. Whenever you cast a spell, you may reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may cast spells with the same name as that spell from among the revealed cards without paying their mana costs. The bulk of the rest of the deck was Persistent Petitioners, a 2-mana creature that allows you to tap 4 untapped advisors you control. Target player puts the top 12 cards of their library into their graveyard. The signature spell was Submerge for 5 mana, but if an opponent controls a forest and you control an island, you may play Submerge without paying its mana cost. put target creature on top of its owner's library. The whole game plan was dependent on Tezzeret -5ing the turn after he comes down. That's why I chose a removal spell that I might be able to cast for free, because I'd be out of mana, to protect him from dying in combat. And yes, I did win with this lousy game plan a couple times. It was not a good deck though. This was weird. This is a weird kind of bad deck. I never said it was good. Alright, honestly, these Oathbreaker videos don't perform very well compared to EDH videos. So if you enjoy hearing me talk about Oathbreaker, hit the like button and consider subscribing for more. I appreciate it so much.